So this video is going to be alternate history. And with alternate history, the majority of things are unknown, and research is hard. So there is a lot of stuff I just made up. The majority of this is accurate, hopefully, but if there is some random detail that is unrealistic, that's why. Before we start, two things of context. One, Japan had their own friendship team outside of the Axis. This was called the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, or GIAXPS. Everything shown in this video will be a part of GIAXPS. Context 2. There are three different types of country in this. There is the Empire of Japan, shown in red, which is just Japan. Japan's puppets, shown in pink, which take orders from Japan, are reliant on Japan, and are probably occupied by Japan, but still technically independent. Then there are allies/dependencies, shown in other colors, which are independent and allied to Japan. So without further ado, Axis Victory, Alternate History, Part 1, Japan. Starting at the very beginning, right before any fighting, Japan owned Korea and Taiwan and had a puppet government in Manchukuo, located in northeast China. Japan wanted to expand its empire, like all fascists do, and invaded the closest thing, China. Starting from Manchukuo, the Japanese invaded downward and created two new puppets, Minjiang, which was to eventually take over Mongolia, and the reorganized National Republic of China. Along with naval invasions, Japan took out China's coast, then made a slow push west. Japan exploited China's warlords, weak national government, and current civil war. Promising independence and protection for rebels in Xinjiang, Japan finally took out China and solidified their puppets' rule. Then Japan was presented with an option: strike north and invade the Soviet Union, or strike south and invade the Allies' territory in Southeast Asia. Japan chose south and invaded French Indochina from China. Indochina is modern-day Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and is right next to the progressively fascist Siam, modern-day Thailand. Thailand joined GIAXPS, helped invade Indochina as well. Japan divided Indochina into two, the kingdoms of Annam and Cambodia. Then Japan went on an island spree, invading British Malaysia, the Dutch East Indies, British New Guinea, and Australian New Guinea. They annexed New Guinea and broke Malaysia into two. The part bordering Thailand became the Kingdom of Malaya, and the part bordering the Dutch East Indies joined with the East Indies to become the East Indies Kingdom. Japan also annexed the Allied holdings in China, such as Hong Kong. At this point, Japan had joined the Axis, but has also reached its two strongest enemies, India and Australia. Instead of wasting troops and resources on these two, Japan waited for Germany to invade Britain and break up the empire's communication and supply lines. This took a while, but it eventually happened, and Japan launched two major invasions. The India campaign went through Thailand and into Burma, but was stopped at the Brahmaputra River. So Japan went through Tibet, Bhutan, and Nepal to strike from the north over the Himalayas. Striking from both sides, Japan finally took over India and Pakistan, as both were in the British Raj. Japan made a puppet of Burma, expanding its territory into India. Japan annexed South India, and turned the remainder of the Raj into an ally. Next came the invasion of Australia. Using their navy, Japan invaded New Zealand, then Tasmania. Encircling Australia, Japan invaded it at multiple angles and took out important coastal regions such as Sydney. With only the outback remaining, Australia capitulated, and was annexed along with New Zealand. Now Japan turned north, and aided Germany with its invasion of the Soviet Union. Japan invaded from 3 points: from Manchukuo and the mainland into Siberia, from China into Mongolia, an ally of the USSR, and from Afghanistan into Central Asia. From this, Minjiang took the rest of Mongolia, and now occupied Afghanistan was annexed into the Greater Raj, and Japan annexed part of the far east of Russia. Germany took its Lebensraum, and the Soviet Union collapsed, becoming a weak Siberian republic. Now with Asia under Japan's control, Japan finally turned to the one thing left, the one thing taunting Japan for years: the Philippines. Japan had wanted the Philippines for a while, but knew that they couldn't take the United States along with the rest of the Allies. But now the US was alone, and Japan owned Asia. Japan took up the Philippines quickly, drawing the US, Canada, who had already been fighting for a while, and Latin America all into war. With the help of their puppets and the rest of the Axis, the Americas were invaded at multiple points, primarily Alaska. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Japan landed on mainland America. After a year of slow fighting on the coast, Germany had successfully invented the Wunderwaffe. Washington, D.C. and San Francisco were both nuked. The US capitulated along with the rest of the Americas, and the Axis divided up the continents. Japan annexed Alaska, Western Canada, Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula, Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Ecuador, Colombia, West Venezuela, the majority of Peru, North Chile, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and many other islands. Japan made puppets or clients of the United States West Coast, Mexico, East Venezuela, Bolivia, and South Chile. The rest of the Americas went to the European Axis. So that is the Empire of Japan and the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. But what happened on the other side of the world? Well, that's a story for another video.